mainly paint fairy tales, and you'll ask why. I don't know, I can find things in fairy tales that I can't find in ordinary life, more tolerance, hope, dreams that come true. And I think that they can inspire other people to this. Fairy tales are thousands and thousands of years old, and they were originally done orally, passed down from generations. They were meant to give morals to families, to help children to grow up, help people realize their dreams. And they were pretty rough, the original ones. I mean, I guess it was Charles Perrault in the 1600s that started to write stories that he had been told as a child. And one of his was Little Red Riding Hood. And in his version, Little Red and the grandmother die in the end. But it was a story meant to help young girls realize that there were men out there that weren't friendly in this world. And then it came into the Grimm's brothers and Hans Christian Andersen that rewrote the fairy tales in the 17th and 18th century, more to the stories that we know today. They, Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, Princess and the Pig, many of those stories. Disney was the one that made them really for children and changed the versions. The original version of Little Mermaid is so far from Disney's version on screen. But anyway, so some of my paintings, they always have a meaning with them, such as this is the Frog Prince. And I usually put the meaning on the back of them. Of course, my glasses are all full of rain. The Frog and the Princess is the story. And I titled this painting, Kiss a Frog. And kiss a frog with your eyes open. If he turns into a prince, you won't miss the transformation. But if he doesn't, you won't be fooled by some wishful illusion in your head. So anyway, I try to give meaning to all the fairy tales that I have. So it can be inspiration for someone, inspiration for children in your household, whatever. Today I'm working on let me show you a little bit about my process. I usually use, I do a mixed media. I usually use a cradled board. I put what I call a gesso. I buy them blank because they're not as expensive, and these are expensive. You can't really use canvas when you're doing mixed media and gluing things on because of the, the fluctuation of the canvas. So you're better with a hard surface. I then coat them with a gesso in white just to give it some tack to hold on to things. And then I use vintage storybook pages for the fairy tale that I'm doing. And a lot of them have really nice little graphics on them. And I do my drawing usually just on a piece of paper. This is going to be a Cinderella where one shoe can change your life. So I do usually a drawing, and then I'll take a tracing so that when I'm laying down the pages, I can kind of see where I would want the graphics to be. Maybe I want to show where I want a little bit of the wording to show through. And I use basically a Mod Podge or a gel medium, and I coat the board with this, apply the pages, and I kind of like the ripped edges when I'm doing it. And then coat them again with a mixture of this matte gel. This is from Golden, but you can use Mod Podge too or whatever. And after that dries, I then go on to use oil paints. On a lot of mine, I use, you can kind of see from this one, here's another Cinderella shoe one. This is a print, but this shoe was actually done in gold leaf. So sometimes, depending on how elaborate it is, I'll put the gold leaf down first or silver leaf, or otherwise I will complete the oil painting, let it really dry, and then put the gold leaf on top. And that's, if you've ever worked with gold leaf, I bought some pieces with me. I use a sizing to put down. You let the sizing dry till it becomes just tacky, that you can feel it with your finger, and then you apply the gold leaf. And if you can see, it's just like tissue paper. So it's really hard to control, but easy to apply because it just kind of all blends in. You really can't mess up on it. Today, I did a painting, and I actually put the gold leaf down first so you could see it. This is a keyhole, and a rabbit's going to be superimposed over this. And my meaning on this was down the rabbit hole. Let me get my glasses here so I can read. And my meaning was face your fears, overcome challenges, go down that path of exploration, go down that rabbit hole. It may just lead you to wonderful things. So again, a nice little painting to put up in your house to inspire you to take chances in life and go down the rabbit hole. So when I applied these papers, the chapter in the book for Alice in Wonderland, and again, I buy vintage storybooks on eBay and rip out the pages, which is kind of, my mother was a librarian, so she would be horrified, but they go to good use, right? And they're fairly, I get ones that the covers are damaged or anything, so they're fairly inexpensive. So this one, I wanted that wording to see, and I wanted that little rabbit image right there. He'll have the stopwatch here, because we all race too much through life, so a clock is good to tone us down. And so that's the one I'll be painting today. So again, it was on a board. They were Mod Podge or with gel medium attached to the board. I put some gold and silver leaf over it, and then oil paints. And I'm up if anybody has a question, because I'm working, please feel free to ask. I'm going to start on the background. I use the type of oil paints I use. I use Graham, M. Graham, and they're walnut oil painting. So there's no really scent to them. I do use terpenoid with them, but you don't have to. You can just use walnut oil, and that works just the same. I'm using a Prussian blue in the background here.
I think Marcia put up a question. She wanted to know what kind of board do you use?
They're from Dick Blick, and they're called Cradle Panels. And I use the premier ones, the better ones from Dick Blick. Bear with me, my hand's shaking. It took me so long to get here today. And I don't like to be late.
So do you sometimes put a gel on top of the oil after it dries?
I put a sealer. I've used either Gamvar, which is from Gamblin, as a sealer, and this can be put on as soon as it's dry to the touch. Where Damar varnish, because they have a retouch varnish too, but Damar varnish is the paint has got to be like dry for like 6 months when this easel's so hard to work on. Wait a minute here. I also use some mediums, which I'm going to put out in a minute on here, a gel medium. So it kind of gives your paints a little bit more transparency. And since I'm only doing, when you're working with oil paints, you don't want to use a lot of medium on your first coat. It's not good for the painting stability. But here with the background, I'm only doing 1 coat. So because I kind of want these old pages to show through. But again, with the M. Graham oil paints, they're a walnut oil base. You can just use walnut oil. You can clean your brushes with salad oil when you're using these. You don't have to use any harsh substances, and they're better for the environment, I guess.
Have you tried the water oils, water miscible?
No, I haven't. No. I've heard good and bad things about them. I don't know.
So can you take enough of the oil paint away?
I can.
So that you can.
And I'm going to do that in a minute.
Okay, all right. Because the printing is very attractive.
Actually, I'm going to put a little bit of gel medium out here. And this is, again, from M. Graham. It's a walnut oil medium. And it's just like using liquid, which is you're probably more familiar with.
Can that only be used with M. Graham paints or walnut oil based paints?
You know, I don't know that. No, I don't think, no, because you can mix, no, because sometimes you can mix the M. Graham with other oil paints too. It just, then you would need to use a solvent really to clean your brushes and things, but you can, you know, you can mix. See, normally I probably would have put this gold leaf on after this, because then it's a lot easier, because you're not going around all these little. But I wanted you to be able to see it on this. I like using, as much as I like fairy tales. You know, fairy tales are really not just for children. And if anyone's interested in learning more about them, there's a wonderful course from Hillsdale College, and you can find it online, and it's free. And it's actually a college course on children's literature. And it's really very, very interesting.
Can you turn the camera or the easel a little bit so we can see more of the canvas or the board that Michelle's working on?
You want me to turn my easel or?
That'd be easier. Can we twist it this way?
Yeah, I just don't want to spill
Or
anything.
you pick up your paints.
All right, there's terpenoid in there too. Is that better?
Yes, and it would be nicer if we could get a little closer, but that's better than it was before.
Okay.
Yeah, she needs room to paint.
What?
What a bigger painting in, huh? I love these, you know, another thing too, and I like learning about supplies. I have really, really expensive brushes, and I have a real problem buying art supplies. Just ask my husband. But there is these little angle brushes, Robert Simmons, or you can buy one even on Amazon. And they're just little synthetic angled brushes. And I don't know, it's like $10 for a pack of 6 or something. They hold up unbelievable with oil paints, and I have used them. And they're just great to use. They, you know, just to go in and out, they kind of like work their way around. I don't know.
If anybody has the oil paint brushes that are hard, put them in Murphy's soap for a couple of days, a couple of hours. Most of that will come off and you get nice soft bristles all over again.
I use Murphy's. I've never soaked them in that, but I use Murphy's oil soaps sometimes just to clean them.
I just soaked a whole bunch of mine that I've been like hard as a rock for years.
Really? Oh, that's good to know.
I did forget about it and soaked them for like 2 weeks. And they are soft and supple, like almost like new brushes, some of them.
Oh, that's good to know. That's good to know. I'll have to try that.
Yeah.
My daughter moved to South Carolina, and she bought me a block of olive oil soap. It's like a hard round thing, and I've been using that, and that's been pretty nice too.
Maria, was that the oil or the soap?
Murphy's oil.
The oil.
Oh, not the soap, not Murphy's oil soap?
It's oil soap, but it's that liquid. It's
Yeah, okay, yeah, right. That's my sister's favorite thing to clean with, and I think she's on Zoom here. Dottie? I saw her name up.
Michelle, I think you keep getting in front of the.
Oh, I'm sorry, trying, okay.
I have a question. Is there a medium on top of the paper I
Is there
mean,
medium? It's on a panel board and I glued vintage storybook pages on there with like a gel medium, like a Mod Podge.
so is that okay to you? I mean, if you're working oil on top of that paper or the medium, it goes
Yes,
fine.
it's fine. It's
It's
fine.
fine. Okay,
It's fine. You can always, what you can't do is, sometimes I'll use some Japanese papers and glue. You can't glue them on top of oil. Oil can always go over latex or
Okay.
acrylics, but you can't do the reverse. You can't do acrylics over oil. So if I'm using papers and I want to do them over the paint, over a painting, I can't do that with oils.
so is there
I can't
any,
glue over top of oils, but
okay.
does that make sense?
Yeah, so do we have to worry how many layers we have to put, like a single coat is fine, like after the paper is, after the page is
Well, the
stuck.
Mod Podge you can paint right over with oils, as long as you're putting oils over anything. And I'm
Okay,
kind of I kind of want this to come through here, this down the rabbit hole.
okay,
I'm just kind of erasing, but yeah, so I put them on with the Mod Podge, it's fine to go over it in oils.
mhm. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that paper would really suck in that oil.
No, because it's glazed with the gel. So you're working on kind of like a smooth, shiny surface, you know.
Why from here, it doesn't look like doesn't look like there's that one, it doesn't.
Well, she sealed it with the
With
varnish.
Will the linguine work too, same as walnut oil?
Excuse me?
The linguine for oil works the same as walnut oil?
I don't know what linguine oil is. Is that?
Liquid.
Oh, liquid. No, liquid is a medium to make your paints transparent. And yeah, the walnut oil, I see what you're saying. The walnut oil would give it some transparency and everything, but you don't want to use, I think you'd be better with a liquid to get, for glazing purposes.
Oh, okay.
In a minute, I'm gonna forgo this background and work on the rabbit so you can kind of see that. Because this is gonna take me forever to go in all these little places here.
So you put the oil on and then you take it off, some of it off with the liquid.
No, just with a rag. I'm just
Oh,
taking it off with a
okay.
rag.
Okay.
I mean, if it was stubborn, you could put a little terpenoid on your rag.
Okay, all right.
But the liquid is basically, you don't want to mix, I think it's, I don't know what the ratio is. You don't want to mix a whole lot of liquid. I'm using a medium that is similar to liquid from M. Graham, but it's base, it's not a petroleum base. It's done with walnut oil.
Mhm.
But they have, when you're working with Graham, I'm probably getting you confused.
So the paper that you put on there has a coating on top of it.
Yeah, it has, yeah, so it's pages, they're ripped out of a storybook, and it has, this is a gel mat, it's like
Yeah,
a gel,
yeah,
you know,
Right,
that goes on top, and that kind of gives it a smooth, slick surface to work on.
not used to having the oil paint put on something like that. It's usually an acrylic.
Yeah,
I guess it doesn't matter.
Well, again, you know, with oil paints can go over acrylics, oil paints can go over mediums.
Mhm.
But what you can't do is if you have oil paints down,
Right.
you can't
it's
glue
the
on top of
reverse.
that.
Right.
It won't work. But the reverse is fine. And there's with gambling, I started this whole, when I first started into fairy tales, I started doing this I like to work large. And I don't know why, my first one, I started working on a very large fairy tale of, I got the name slipping out of me, the two little kids in the woods with a bread truck, Hansel and Gretel. I couldn't think of Hansel and Gretel. And I painted it, I wanted a base and I painted it in oils. Then I realized I couldn't glue the papers that I wanted to use on top of it. So I called, and if anyone ever has any questions about any of these mediums, if you go on Gamblin's website and they have a helpline there, a phone number and or an email, and you can email them any questions you have. And the girl is unbelievable, and she will get back to you within a day and give you answers and products to use and, you know, what not to do. It's really a very, very helpful thing. Anyway. Now, I always have, now I can put this on here. I always have my reference photos. So this is the rabbit that I'm drawing, but I want the rabbit in white. So I found another picture that I liked of this rabbit and put them both on my reference board. Let's see if we can just stick this in here. Probably good enough. That's not blocking anyone, is it? Okay. Blocking me to get into here, though.
Another little easel if you want this.
Hmm?
I have another little easel.
I think I'm okay here. I'll make it work. I did a lot of murals in people's houses, so I kind of got used to painting in front of people. And one story I usually tell is I had just started, I lived in the Washington DC area, and I was doing a full staircase mural, Asian inspired, up a staircase in the home of Mr. and Mrs. Boykin. And she was a Southern belle, very lovely lady, and he was a retired submarine captain. And when I started, it was the first time I ever did a mural this big. So I'm nervous, I'm scared. And they pulled out chairs, folding chairs, and sat and watched me. I wanted to cry, I wanted to die.
Oh, nothing like pressure.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Oh,
So I should be fairly used to. Because a lot of people would like to watch me when I was doing, you know, murals in their homes and things, and you're certainly not going to say, excuse me, I'd like to be alone.
Do you ever work with acrylics or is it always oil?
Very rarely. I have, sometimes when I used to paint a lot on walls. Sometimes I would use them there, but most of my murals were done in oils too. In homes, and I could get a beautiful, so my murals had a distinct look. Some of them on my website, but not nearly the ones that I've mounted that I did.
You're bored again. I'm gonna twist you just a little bit back.
Oh, okay, sure. Let me get these brushes out of here. Okay. Better?
What is your palette? What colors do you use?
I have alizarin crimson on here, cadmium red, yellow ochre, what's that? It's chrome yellow, acarin blue, burnt sienna, and burnt umber. If you ask me what my favorite colors I go to, I always seem to be using a lot of ultramarine blue. That's on here also, and burnt umber. I don't know, maybe an alizarin crimson. So I kind of fall back on them a lot.
So fairly limited palette.
Yeah, you know what, because I was trying to space here, but when I'm home, I tend to put a lot of my colors out because I figure if they're not there, I don't use them. And I like colorful things, so I do usually put I went to Stansky's art school when I was, oh my God, in high school. It was in Haddonfield. And Mr. Stansky would always make us, and my palate remains the same. That's what he taught us, because you were afraid not to do what he wanted you to do. So I always stuck with the same.
What colors are you using to make that gray?
I'm using ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, and a little bit, just to grade down, a little bit of burnt umber. So it's not too, because I kind of want a little
Very
bit
pleasant.
purpley there.
Is that both silver leaf and gold leaf you have on there?
And I might go back over, like the watch, I'll paint in today, just the base of it, but when this is dry, I'll go back and put numbers and that kind of thing on there. You know, so it's kind of like a process.
I like where you wiped off the oil and the paint shows through.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, is I want a little bit of those vintage storybooks to kind of come into it. And you can paint over the silver leaf too, and the gold leaf. That's not a problem with the oils. That works because I use an oil sizing. So that works fine. A lot of times I do large animal portraits, and I like to do silver and gold leaf backgrounds on them. And sometimes I draw the animal in and then go around it with the silver and gold leaf. And other times I'll do the whole canvas in the metal leaf. And
Now, do you ever teach classes or
no,
no?
no, I don't think I would be a good teacher. People ask me that all the time, but no.
And you said you use sizing. Is that over the gold leaf or is that what's under?
That's what's underneath. It's
That's what makes it stick.
yeah, it's and it's an oil. It's quick dry oil-based gilding sizing. And that you apply it and then you let it dry for about an hour or so. Until when you touch it, your hand's kind of tacky. You know, you can almost hear it. That makes sense. You know, like that suction kind of a thing. And that's when it's ready. If it's too wet, like I was hurrying this, you kind of get a little bit of lump on there, but actually when it's all done, it'll be, you know, just fine.
And to paint over it with the oils, you don't need to like isolate it or cover it.
No, you can just go right over it. And it's kind of a nice surface to work on too.
There's no fear of if you're wiping some of the oil off that you're gonna wipe some of that.
No, it doesn't. I mean, if you're wiping the oil off of the gold leaf, it may dull the shine on it. That make like from the, you know,
Makes sense.
it may dull that, but so I try to not to wipe on those areas.
Besides happy accidents make it more interesting.
That's right, you're right, exactly. You said that.
Who wants-
Bob Ross,
Who wants perfection?
right,
It sounds like a Bob Ross.
yeah, didn't he say happy little,
Yeah, it was always happy little accidents.
yeah, yeah. You know, he's still on TV too. My granddaughter, she's 7. And she's a very good artist and loves it. And she watches him sometimes.
Does his son also?
I don't know, I don't know.
His son did, but the company got taken away from him, so.
Really?
They you buy with
Why?
his name on it and all, because the people that were representing him or whatever. Got all the rights and signed everything. So everything you see with his name, it doesn't go to the son or family or,
Oh, you're kidding.
no.
Wow. So all the products, like Dick Blick still
Yeah.
has all their, wow, I didn't know that.
Not in the family.
Hi, how long do you wait till the painting is dry to seal it?
If you're using the Gamblin product for, it's called GAM bar and right here, let me see, turn it around there, okay. If you're using GAM bar, you can, as soon as the painting is dry to the touch, or if you're using Damar retouch varnish, when it's dry to the touch. But if you're using the regular Damar varnish, you really have to wait almost 6 months or so.
Okay,
But the retouch varnishes you can use, you know, really sooner, you know, as soon as it feels good. As soon as the thickest area is, I think they describe it as soon as the thickest area is,
does the gold leaf retains the shine, like, after?
yeah, because you're going to seal it. Now this is, I'm not using 14 karat gold leaf because of the price of it. This is called a metal leaf.
Mhm.
And I seal it with the varnish, so then it retains its shine. Now, if you were using real silver leaf too, that will tarnish unless you, of course, varnish it,
Okay,
you know, put a varnish on it.
okay.
What type of varnish do you normally use, like a satin or a gloss or?
I like the gloss.
So if you put the gloss on, does the gold leaf still shine more than the rest of the areas of the
Yeah,
painting?
it's still, yeah,
Oh,
still,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
How long does it typically take to finish a painting?
For me? Oh, I guess it kind of varies. I paint pretty fast, and that's from years of painting in people's houses on walls. So, you know, you kind of learn tricks and things. And if you ask me, do I start with darks or lights? I think each painting is almost like a puzzle that you almost have to figure it out before you start, you know, how you're going to approach it.
In the background, like the top left corner, is that collage or an image transfer?
Here,
Yeah.
it's the storybook pages behind.
Oh, it's collaged, okay.
Yeah. Mhm. And I'm gonna rub a little bit more off of up here in a minute. I'm just trying to get this rabbit in a little bit. He's getting pretty purpley.
Do you ever use extenders in your paint so that it doesn't dry so fast while you're working?
Yeah, well, I'll use not extenders, but I do use like liquid and everything that'll help it to glaze and quick flow better. But actually that helps it to dry quicker afterwards, you know, but no, I don't really use extenders.
Imagine the oil extends.
Well, and the gram oil paints are, you know, but it's funny, I did a mural for a customer in Florida, and it was 10 feet by 14 feet, it was a sunset. And I did it in my studio. My good husband put boards up, so and I bought, because it was going to be hung by wallpaper hangers, you know, shipped down there, rolled up, I bought a polyester canvas. Because I had an experience once before with a mural painted on regular canvas, and if you're applying it like wallpaper, when you put the paste on the back of it, it shrinks, it starts to shrink immediately. So I bought a polyester mural canvas and thinking, okay, I got this beat. It took months to dry in my studio with the oil paints, because the oil wasn't being absorbed into the canvas. It took so long. It actually came out okay, but I was thinking it was never going to dry. So that's something to learn. I mean, you learn.
So
by
it didn't
mistake.
matter whether you gessoed it or not?
Well, this was just, it was going to be a mural and a half, so it was just an oil painting, basically, big, though, on canvas, but I did it on the polyester canvas, and it took forever, ever. I had fans on it, heat lamps on it.
I don't have that problem with watercolor.
No, I like watercolor too, I do.
painting on Friday and sell it on
That's
Saturday.
right, yeah, that's a good way to do it. And I don't like, I know a lot of people work in acrylics and I've tried them and I don't like acrylics, I just can't, and I guess because I don't use them. I could never,
I use acrylics now. I've used oils for like 30-some years.
was it hard to switch?
No, once you start learning some of the techniques.
Yeah,
then
that's
I can
just
leave
it.
acrylic paint wet on a palette for days.
Really?
Yeah, so it's always workable. Right?
Well, when I'm home, I usually paint on, and I didn't have any disposable, which would have been really easy to bring here today, but I have a big glass. I like a big surface when I'm painting. And I learned this trick where I bought clove oil, essential clove oil, and I had my husband make like a lid. That lifts, it's got a little ledge on it, so it sits over top of it. And if you soak a cotton ball in a little bit of, just a few drops of the clove oil, it keeps the paints moist. Because I was putting them in the refrigerator until I learned that they off gas. So
Okay.
I have a refrigerator, a small one in my studio, but they off gas. So if you have food or anything in there, I used to put them in there all the time, but
Gosh, I have 2 pounds.
yeah, there you go.
I just wanted to.
We're trying to kill yourself.
We for Alex, so say.
Yeah.
Yes, all the gas.
I used to put it in the freezer and one time I didn't put a lid on it, just because I had one in there already. It just put the piece of like, had a Liz on something in there. Let me tell you, for weeks, every time I went to get something, somehow it got on my hands.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I didn't know where it was, because, there's things in there and it got smeared. That was the last time I put it in the freezer.
There's some colors that are just not, I'm trying to, I bring tape with me to see if I can tape this on the side, stick these.
I got it. There's
I got it. I got it. I got it. So I put my dirty business there. Oh.
But what-
Maybe not. Uh-oh, I just got paint on the floor.
Give off a solvent fume. So it shouldn't really be a problem with mixing with food if you're using like safflower oil or walnut oil.
For what?
Even linseed oil.
I didn't hear.
The off gassing is just, the oil oxidizes, it doesn't really give off toxic fumes. Unless you've got solvent mixed in already. So it shouldn't be a toxic fume.
Really?
Yeah.
I just read that someplace and I used to always stick them in and I thought, no, maybe it's not a good idea.
Maybe some of the cheap oil paints, but not the ones that you use.
Because they're actually made with like edible, right, safflower or linseed.
Well,
or
linseed
all that.
oil.
Well, this is made with walnut oil, you're right, so maybe mine aren't.
Yeah.
But you're right, unless you've already mixed the soften.
If I can taste it.
I keep
Marcia just asked a question.
Oh.
Just, about-
Said, thank you very much for an excellent program. Can you give us a 60-second biography?
Oh, me?
Yes.
Sure. I went to college and I had a degree in business and marketing and I went to work for John Wanamaker's, went into executive training and I got him at dating myself in 1973. And I became a buyer there and met my husband there. He was my first boss and I wouldn't date him because I was very, very into my career. So I was a buyer. I was in the home division. I bought linens and domestics, table linens, draperies, that kind of thing, and traveled a lot with that job. You know, I got to go to Asia and Europe and everything. And my daughter was born and they still wanted me to travel. And I thought, nope, can't do this. And I left there and I guess I have 2 children.
You guess you have to.
No, yeah, that's right. Seems like more sometimes. That's for sure.
What happened to your boss?
My boss is still my husband. We'll be married 47 years in October. And he married a businesswoman and then he found out I was a crazy artist. So I don't know how that worked. He's pretty supportive. And I guess when my kids were starting, I guess when my youngest was starting kindergarten, I just decided, because I had been in interior design with Wanamakers and things, I opened an interior design and decorative art business. So I did all kinds of things like ragging walls and faux finishes, and it was very, very popular in the 90s. And I lived in the Washington DC area then. And we moved back here. It'll be 22 years this fall. We moved back to Corbin City. And everybody says, where's Corbin City? But it's a great little town. There's 467 people in the town. We live on the Tuckahoe River. And we've been real happy. So we started in interior design. We bought my business here with us. And everybody thought we were crazy. It'll never work. It'll never, it's not the Washington DC area, that kind of thing. Because I had the interior design business there for, I don't know, 12, 15 years or so. But we did, and we worked together, and we did a lot of show houses then. They had the RNS, which is a show house in Ventnor, New Jersey, in Margate, where designers would take a room and, they charge people, I don't know, $20 to come in and see the work that the designers did. And that's how we ran our business. And it was hard working with my husband. There were times we would go out to dinner and not have a single thing to say to each other because we've been with each other all day long. I mean, it was like, but it had benefits too, I guess. So that's, I have a daughter and 2 granddaughters. And they live in South Carolina, which they moved there about a year and a half ago. And I was down there last weekend. The one that's the artist is also a ballerina, and she had a recital that we had to go to. And it's awful to travel there. I mean, it should be something really easy, but I live close to Atlantic City Airport, and if they would fly to Charleston from there, it would be much easier. You do what you have to with the kids. And I have a son who's 37 and very much a free spirit. He's got a degree in marine biology, but he's a photographer and probably an artist at heart. And he just built a trailer from scratch. And it's in my driveway, and he moved home with us to build it. And he was supposed to leave next week to go out west to shoot photographs. And he was helping my husband with a dock and ripped his rotator cuff. So we don't know how long Michael's still going to be with us. Yeah, I mean, his trailer is absolutely beautiful. It's amazing what he did. It's like a tiny house, basically.
Maybe
But-
you have to go and leave.
Yeah, maybe I could take the trailer and go, right? Yeah.
Did he really hurt himself?
Yeah, because I know it was too comfortable living home. He's been there for a while building this thing,
I think you should take the pup, take his trailer and leave him home.
Yeah, he has a dog too, and the dog is staying with me, and the dog doesn't like my
And bring your
husband.
paints and go across the country painting.
I would love that. Sounds good.
Leave Bill.
Bark and paint.
There you go.
Who's that that knows me? Who's that?
I worked with him for 22 years.
Diana, can I give you a little bit of the, she did all our draperies and window treatments, and she is amazing. I mean, amazing. She's also a good friend too. And she worked with Bill, right? We had nicknames for Bill all the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we called him Decorator Dan. Now my husband's Decorator Dan.
I thought it was, I heard somebody say, bring the pup. Yeah, I thought somebody knows me. Yeah, Michael has a dog, and it's only 11 pounds. It's like, looks like a miniature pincher. It's
I
tiny,
couldn't
but it
think of
hates
his name.
Bill.
I was thinking of Spike, your old dog.
Do you do any other fantasy type pictures, or is it mostly just children's fantasy? You don't do like adult fantasy or?
No, and I actually hate adult fantasy. I hate that sci-fi kind of stuff. I don't know, right? Just not interested in it, but I love, when you start to really get into fairy tales, there's so much morals and knowledge and inspiration in them, and especially in the originals. I don't know, I find it kind of fascinating. And again, I highly recommend that Hillsdale.
They were so, I couldn't even read to my son.
Oh, my goodness.
Like Hansel and Gretel, I mean.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Children in ovens and.
Yeah, I mean, and the older versions are even worse. I mean, a lot of them are very sexual too, the early one. I'm trying to think in Cinderella, I mean, the stepsisters cut their toes off and their heels off to get into the shoes.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
Talk about being vain.
but Disney did a good job.
Yeah. Oh, my.
Everything, but not that.
And the little match girl, she dies of.
Oh, yeah. I did a painting on her too.
Done, she froze to death on the street because nobody would buy her matches or something.
Yeah,
That one.
but you know what? She never resented anyone. I mean, that was kind of, I think, she still, you know, didn't blame anyone. I mean, she still,
So they really were life lessons.
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Don't sell matches unless you have a fallback option for rich parents.
Don't trust anybody. Really is, though, isn't it?
Do you normally frame your paintings after or just finish the sides and leave them like that?
both, you know, it gets expensive if you're, you know, it depends. If like they're going on a show, I try to be, you know, I'm dropping a couple off to Collingswood after this meeting today and one's framed and one isn't, you know, one's just the sides are painted. And what kind of, Maria, I remember you using markers to paint your sides and every time I get out my black paint to paint the sides, I think of what kind of markers did you use on that? Because that looked interesting.
The Posca, they're acrylic markers.
Okay,
I bought the 15 mm, so the thick
yeah, what are they called again?
Posca, Posca.
In case anybody's interested, I'm talking to Maria because if you have a gallery wrapped canvas, and you want to finish the sides off just in black or whatever, she uses a marker. What, again?
Posca.
Posca acrylic marker. It looked really, when did I see you do that? On some,
Oh, it was a while ago on Instagram. I posted.
okay,
it.
yeah.
I've also used a little roller just to.
Yeah, I've done that too. And sometimes I'll paint them, I'll wrap around what's on the canvas, but that's a pain in the neck because you gotta
Yeah, it
wait for
is.
the top to dry and the bottom to dry and.
And I heard you on the way here, you were talking about Dick Blick, that's where you buy your cradle panels.
Yes,
I just bought a bunch, 6 of them from Cheap Joe's, and they were having a sale, buy one, get one free.
oh, really?
And I bought the 2-inch deep sides, which I've never used before. And they were good because it ended up being like $63 for 6 of them, and I got like 2 18 by 18s, 12 by 36.
Wow,
Decent
that's good,
sizes.
yeah,
So that's another one to keep an eye out for.
yeah.
Really well made.
I bought some frames from him before, but I got a frame last year, if anyone knows of this. I was in this 25 Days of Minis, which is a Christmas type of promotion, and there's, oh my goodness, probably 75 artists on it, and every day a new painting comes up, and they're all minis, they're small, under 12 inches square, I think is the largest. And I got as a gift when I went into that, it was a panel, and it was in a little 2-inch black frame. And I have looked every place for them, just can't seem to find them. I'm just gonna take a break from that for a minute.
The panels with the 2-inch sides give it more body, so. Because I find the ones that are 3/4 inch deep kind of need a frame.
Yeah, right. No, I like the 1.5 inch deep ones, but I have the 2, you know, the 2.5 too.
Where do you get your frames?
My frames, what's that company, Diana? She found it. What was that called? Was it Web Picture Frames?
I get the emails all the time.
And actually cheap Joe's too, I mean, just for a basic plein air frame, but this company was, Diana found it. I had sold a painting to a friend of
Oh,
hers.
Custom Frame Solutions.
What is it? No, that's
Custom
not
Frame
it.
Solutions.
No. I'll recognize it when.
I think, you mean where I got my frame from?
Yeah.
You found that one.
Hmm?
I think you found that one.
Was it web picture frames? I have it written down, but they're not no branded cheap, but they have a nice collection and they'll do custom ones.
It's a webpictureframe.com.
Yeah, that's it then, that's it, okay.
Web
Yeah.
or west?
Web,
Web, 1B?
one B.
Yeah, that's, and they'll do like custom sizes and things.
Now, what are you doing?
I just put a little bit of terpenoid on my rag and I'm just kind of, I want some more of that wording to come through.
I like that.
It gives it more interest.
Now, can you always go back if you feel like you took off too much?
Yeah, I could paint more on there, sure.
Still do murals.
Not really. I try not to. You know, I have a lot of old customers and it's hard to say no when you've done a lot of work for them before. I did one in, I took a job in Morristown last year. It was a 50-foot hallway, both sides. It was 100 feet of mural, but it was just too good to turn down. It was just too good. And it was the style that I paint in normally, very dreamy kind of a landscape. They wanted the hallway to seem wider. So,
For 50 foot, they want it wider.
well, it was a long, awful hallway and a beautiful home and
So they wanted to, yeah.
they wanted it to seem wider. So I did do, that. That's probably the last one I've done last year. So I try not to now. It's a lot of.
How did you make it wider? Just use it perspective?
Yeah, just so it was a dreamy kind of, there's probably pictures of it, probably on my Instagram page. If you scroll back, there's probably a lot of shots of it.
You didn't go from small to large or anything like that?
It just kind of, it was a forest, just very pale gray greens, very, very soft, very neutral color.
That's a big area.
Yeah, but it wasn't easy. They were lovely people. I enjoyed working, with them in their home, and it probably took me about 10 days to do it. So it was.
Arlene wants to know what's the image in the middle of the painting?
That is a keyhole, and I'll start. I'm not going to work on the rabbit anymore because he needs more work, but you get the drift of it. And that's a keyhole, and I'm going to do a little landscape type of thing because the whole theme of this painting is down the rabbit hole. Like, take chances in your life, go for it. So I'm going to kind of that's kind of dreamy. So this will be a keyhole when it's done. And let me just fill in that, and then the pocket watch will be filled in with But again, if you look at me, I'm using some of my brushes. I have some watercolor brushes that were like $100. Alvaro Castanet, you ever hear of him and that? His brush things are wonderful, but I keep going back to these little cheap Amazon ones.
So if someone wants to follow you, how do they see your work?
I'm on Facebook. It's Painted River Studios. My website is paintedriverstudios.com. And my work is all in there. I'm also on Facebook. Again, Painted River Studios, Michelle Collins Art, or Instagram, which is just Michelle Collins Art. And I have some business cards here if anybody wants them today.
It almost looks like a watercolor brush.
Probably, it's a synthetic, but I'll tell you what, and when they do get a little frayed or whatever, you don't mind throwing them out, because,
Yeah.
when I buy really expensive oil brushes, and I used to go through a lot of brushes, especially painting on walls, because it's abrasive to them, and it's, but even my good ones, they don't, even the sable hair, they don't last long. I try to take good care of them. But they don't keep good points, and these,
Right.
Michelle Collins Art, is that with underscores, or I mean with
all one on Instagram. Yeah, I don't have the Facebook on that, but here's a business card with my website on it. But yeah, Michelle Collins Art should be on Instagram. Yeah, I'm a 1L. Diana, did you have trouble getting here?
Yes.
I left really, really early. I thought, actually, I was gonna be here at like 9:20. And I thought, oh, that's stupid. I thought, no, just, you don't want to be rushed. I don't like to be late. And I didn't get here till 10:30.
The light was out. I don't know if there was an accident.
It was an accident, I think, because I saw ambulances and things coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I had waves, I was trying everything, I was just kind of going around in circles for a little bit, and then I think they opened part of it up, so. Yeah, I would have been here a half hour before.
Yeah.
It took me an hour and a half,
From,
20 minutes away.
Well, I kept calling Maria. I was panicking. I wanted to like to have at least a half hour to set up and get my,
I did get on at 10:33 or so. I just told the people that were on Zoom that, what happened and
Yeah.
Okay.
just to hold off, because like 10, 15 minutes, nothing happens, they would all leave.
Yeah. I can't. I did bring a smock, but it's in the car too. I was like so rushed when I got here.
Also,
You were in one.
en route.
Yeah.
But I could not get one to.
Now, again, where I'm going in between here, if I was doing this painting at home, I may have done the whole background in blue
Everybody that was.
and then put this on, because that's been a lot easier.
I had emails yesterday, was something, so I emailed them back.
But I kind of want to do this, you can kind of see and get the idea that it is a keyhole.
So
I sent that out last night,
I understand,
and I sent it out a few days ago.
but I think.
what do you mean, the whole background?
I would have painted the whole background in blue,
Yeah, that. we
and then
did.
after it dried, put the rabbit in, then after it dried, came back with the silver and gold leaf on here. It would have been a lot easier than me nitpicking it right now and
Somebody. Because I said,
trying to get this in here.
For the Zoom link contact.
So you can put the gold leaf on top of it.
So I figured if somebody was gonna do that.
Yep, because I use an oil size.
And I didn't think there was gonna be an issue.
Well,
Like if there's a print, I guess I could hold that up in a second.
Well, I wrote. Take them out twice.
Would they?
There is a print here, and if I don't know whether I showed this before enough, but this was Cinderella's, one shoe can make a difference. And if you look, I did this whole thing, and then I put the gold leaf for the shoe on there, because it's, it's hard cutting in and out.
Right.
That kind of makes sense.
Hold that, hold that up again.
Yeah.
Sure.
Spotlight.
Okay,
And
Yeah.
See, you can get it, I can get it.
You do any sketching ahead of time to kind of work out, or you just kind of have it in your head?
No, I'm not that free. I wish I was. I usually do, like, here's another Cinderella one I'll be working on. So I usually do the sketch first of what I want it to look like, just, to scale, I mean, to fit it. And then I usually do a tissue overlay, so I can kind of put this up onto the painting to see where I want the graphics from the storybook pages to fall.
Okay.
So I kind of play around with it and figure that out, then I glue them down. Then I take my drawing for this and I use graphite paper. I put it over and I use graphite underneath of it to trace it onto there.
Transfer.
Yeah, transfer it, yeah.
When you do murals or did murals, like the 50-foot
Mm-hmm.
hallway, do you design it all ahead of time, more or less, or?
I do a watercolor sketch to scale. Yep,
Oh,
To scale.
yeah.
so you did a 50-foot watercolor sketch?
No, just,
Oh.
no, to scale, I mean, to scale. So it was maybe, a quarter inch equals 1 foot.
Yes.
I think you're.
And you might get a little bit free when you're doing the mural. It might not, I mean, every detail isn't put on that little drawing, but you really need to have references. I do anyway. But back in the 90s, I did, oh my God, I had photo books after photo books. That's before digital. Of the, I did like kids' rooms. I remember I did lockers filled with sports equipment on the wall, painted. Flowers in kitchens was huge. You do like a clay pot with flower vines coming out of it, would wrap around the kitchen. All that kind of stuff for it was a good business. It was good.
It took me years to realize if you really plan ahead, you save yourself like 2 million hours.
Oh, sure,
with
sure.
everything.
And when you have people like Mr. and Mrs. Boykin watching you, you want to make sure you plan ahead.
Oh, God. I was just trying to correct mistakes the whole time.
Yeah,
I always find a painting, it's the last half is correcting, adding, subtracting.
Now, if you plan it, it really is much easier.
yes. I mean, there were probably jobs I went to that I didn't plan as much as I should have, and then I was sorry.
And do you have a stencil for that keyhole?
I did, well, I pulled this off of online. I find, images or whatever, and I belong to, I try not to use images exactly that I find online, or like this rabbit is from Shutterstock. And of course, I'm painting him in white. But that's somebody else's art. That's a photograph that somebody else took. So I buy them. You can buy them. So then you have the rights to them. And I feel like that's a little bit, because I'm not a photographer going out shooting animals. But the keyhole was just a keyhole that I saw, and I might have to, and I just kind of traced it on.
You ever use any of the free? They have
The
free
Pix
pictures, like
Pixabay. Yeah, I do.
Splash.
But I don't know, I think, I always question. And I question too with painting fairy tales. I try not to use any of the images from Disney or anything when I do them. I always kind of have to come up with my own theme because, it's really frowned upon, I guess. But sometimes you just, my son's a photographer, so when I get him, he's usually got great photographs, even of animals and things, and I don't feel bad using his at all.
I tell them to go out, like, I need a rabbit, can you get me one?
Yeah. Well, I did a children's book, Grandma Drives a Jeep, and I've been doing it for several years, the illustrations, and it's completely finished. I made myself finish it. And I'm gonna publish it, it should be done in the next couple of weeks. If Michael didn't hurt his arm, it would already be on there. Because I need him, and this stuff is so technical. You can publish on Amazon basically for free. Now they give you 60% royalties on each book that's sold. But they drop ship it from any place, so. And since Amazon sells, I don't know, like 74% of the books in the country now, it's kind of like a no-brainer. Can everybody see that that's kind of looking more like a keyhole now?
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get here. Anyway, my book is Grandma Drives a Jeep, and there is a Instagram page on that too, Grandma Drives a Jeep, that I'm not very good about posting on, but I'll get better. But that should be out in a couple of weeks, and it's a story about for children, probably ages 4 to 8, 4 to 6. And it's just about using your imagination, you know, I mean, you can really, same thing with fairy tales, you can take yourself any place you want. You don't ever have to be bored. Using your imagination.
It's autobiographical, right?
Yeah, sort of.
How many hours do you normally paint a day when you're painting?
I've been bad lately. How many hours? Usually, like if I was in doing a mural on somebody's house, 4 to 6 hours, and I'm spent. I can't do anymore.
Right.
And probably at home, probably 3 hours when I, you know. But I tend to get sidetracked easily. You know,
So your studio's at home?
it's over my garage, which is, there's like a walkway, so it's, yeah, but there's always a little laundry to be put in or something, you know, or dinner to cook. I can find a million excuses.
Yeah, I always found that like 2 hours of painting for me was it, and then take a
Yeah.
break, even if you come back.
Yeah.
But you're just gonna mess it up.
Right, they start fiddling where you're tired.
Well, sometimes it's good to walk away too, and you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm lucky to have a really, really nice studio to work in. So I feel fortunate about that I can, you know, leave the mess and walk over to the house, and it is messy at times.
So how do you promote, I mean, other than the social media? How do you sell, or I assume you do sell the pieces and stuff?
I was in Rittenhouse Square art show a couple years ago. I have my tent and everything, but I really don't like doing that. Just really, I'm actually kind of in between right now because I had the interior design business. So for the 20 years that I had that here, I sold to my customers. And, you know, I had that avenue that, you know, you needed artwork for and everything. So now it's really just pretty much social media, but I'm in a gallery in Collingswood. I've got to make the next step and get into some more galleries.
Yeah, I just dropped off my piece at Halloween on Thursday.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I'm going there right after this at 2 o'clock today.
What's the gallery in Thomaston?
Halloween Arts.
Nicest people ever,
Yes.
aren't they?
Yes, and it turns out on Thursday, we ended up talking about Ben Cohen, a very good friend of the mother. It's a mother and daughter. The mother's not there. She's actually getting a kidney transplant.
I know.
Yeah. But the daughter was there. So we were talking and you came up, Michele, and I said that you were doing a demo on Saturday, part of the WAA. And she goes, Ben Cohen, back in the day, my mother, they were very good friends and whatever. And I'm like, what a small world.
Yeah, yeah,
Her name is Carol Tierney.
yeah.
They would hang out. This was in Philly at one of, she mentioned And I forgot.
Mhm.
Her mother's she's a very good artist, the mother.
I actually
Where
thought
is the studio?
it's a gallery. Yeah, it's in Collingswood,
Okay.
right off of Haddon Avenue. I did mention to Caroline, the daughter, maybe have her mother come in and do an artist demo sometime in the fall, but we'll see how things go.
Yeah, you know, the other sister. She was donating a kidney because,
Yes,
so the mother would get it, and they didn't have one for the mother, but she heard the woman's story in Texas. And she's
Yeah.
young, I mean, and she donated a kidney to this woman.
she's a woman in Texas, yeah,
I mean, talk about,
which pushed her mother up to the top of the list.
yeah,
because
mhm,
then your donor gave it to someone else and makes
Right.
you,
yeah, right,
it's kind of interesting.
yeah. Well, I was involved in that artist initiative, that 25 days of minis, and she had a son that had a kidney disease. Ryan was like, I don't know, 8 years old, 9 years old. And she donated so her son could get one, and they went in the same time and did it.
Wow.
And he got a kidney and she donated to, I don't know who, but you know, someone else.
No, it looks like that takes a lot of imagination. A whole lot of patience.
Well, that's what I said. This is kind of a pain in the neck kind of thing, but I wouldn't normally done it this way, but I wanted everybody to kind of see the finished look.
Yeah.
I would have waited till afterwards and put the, yeah, the gold leaf one, yeah. I know, I think I keep flipping sides of my brain because then I stop talking halfway through.
Can't talk at the same time.
Yeah.
Your old ones.
I'm gonna try that, whoever recommended that with the Murphy's oil soap,
Yeah, that was,
because I do have some that,
Well, Masters is pretty good too.
yeah, but you know, we always get brushes that look.
but that's expensive, that Masters, that's expensive, and I used to get the big tubs of it and I stopped.
I got a big tub years ago, still using it.
Ivory soap works pretty good, almost as good as Masters.
And I just bought cheap paints at Joanne Fabrics, and they're great.
Yeah,
I always buy these expensive brushes. And
well, that's why I say these brushes are so cheap, and this one is, these were from Amazon, I think, they're just little synthetic angled brushes. And I find I gravitate towards them all the time versus my better
Well,
ones.
they look like they're working really well. for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
Are they labeled as oil brushes or?
mixed media, mixed, you
Mixed
know,
media.
yeah. I used to use, the Robert Simmons has one, a Sapphire, I think it is, Sapphire brand. And I used to use them, but now I just been getting them on Amazon, and they're, you know, they actually don't really wear out very fast at all, but if they do, you know, you don't mind tossing them.
I find the hardest thing is putting in a signature on a painting.
Do you know what I did? I got a stamp.
There you go.
I have a stamp that I use to put my signature on because my
And you
signature,
stamp it.
always, you can look up here on them, yeah, and I just, yeah.
Oh my God.
Because my signature,
And I put it down, I wipe it off, put it.
I know, and I just got it, I couldn't stand it. And my son would say to me, Mom, you gotta be consistent with your signature, and sometimes I would sign my paintings Mikey, because my family calls me Mikey. And sometimes I would say Michele, and I was always sorry I didn't just keep my maiden name and sign my paintings by my maiden name. So it was very confusing, so finally I just got a stamp.
And so you just did it.
I have a large one and a small one, a large one for, you can look on that. A large ones, and I have a horrible handwriting too, so.
I think I have a Mikey and a Michelle.
Huh?
I think Hurley's Mikey. and Gibson is Michelle.
That is
I
incredible.
can collect these items.
I know, I like Mikey.
Yeah, and it looks like it's Doesn't look
Yeah.
like a stamp.
Right, right. These are on paper, Michelle?
They're prints of my oils.
Oh, they're prints.
Prints, yeah, just prints of the oils, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, you tell me how long you want me to go with this.
It's.
Well, but probably you also have to get.
Yeah, what time? Yeah.
It's
And it's not finished yet. I mean, 12:30? Okay.
My phone.
It's not, I will take this home and work on this and bring that rabbit up more, some let it dry a little bit maybe.
Are you going to glaze anymore over the background?
Yeah, I'll probably play with it all the way around and in here is neat. You know, I'll clean up the edges on the metal leaf and,
Right, right.
but I think they can get kind of the drift of it.
Mhm.
And again, can I read the story for the back of it? Look,
Do you
I'm
write
not a needle painter either.
Do you write your stories first?
Yeah, with the,
Do something.
put a caption that it's not finished yet.
I'm going to my.
This would be a better one. I bought this because it was a finished rabbit. But
Yeah, I think that's the first one I ever saw of yours.
I bet they sell easily, don't
So
they?
what's?
yeah, people do like the fairy tales.
Chapter
They're fun.
Tier, so what's this?
Because everybody can relate.
Oh, this is.
You know, it's-
This is called Moments. And I don't have the story with me, but this was Moments, and I wanted this to remind people. We live in such a hectic world. We're all rushing around, you know, like the white rabbit, to slow down and take a minute.
But he has great character.
I love it. I love it.
But it's.
Assuming